Tangibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-dit, da-da-da-da. Here to describe, in a third installment, the Zepp antenna as it evolves from perfection to what radio hams typically use, and that looks something like this. The top section here is still 1/2 wavelength at the frequency of operation. But this antenna has an interesting property. You can operate it at harmonic frequencies of the fundamental frequency at which this is 1/2 of a wavelength, because the length of this feed line here is no longer critical. It doesn't matter how long it is. It's no longer a matching section. You will still get a particular purely resistive impedance at the feed point. We've always said that it was 4,500 ohms. But now we don't have to worry about it at all. It could be anything. We're no longer concerned with tweaking and adjusting for perfection, except that this length here ideally should be precisely 1/2 of a wavelength at the frequency of operation. If it isn't, you're not going to get a pure resistance here. And that can introduce problems because it will just suboptimize the performance of the whole system. What you end up with right here then is no longer necessarily a purely resistive impedance. It's some impedance that may contain reactance. But we don't care what it is, and we don't care what the reactance is, as long as our transmatch here, which should ideally have a truly balanced output. A balanced output transmatch is made by a company called PALSTAR. There are very few other companies that make those truly balanced transmatches, but you'll pay a lot of money for a transmatch like this. So this radio, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to use the viewer's QRP radio with this type of an arrangement. It's better actually if you can build your own little transmatch or get one from another company that sells all kinds of antenna tuners. MFJ. Everybody's heard of MFJ. So that's what you have here. 50 ohm coaxial cable connects the transmatch to the radio. As short a length of this as possible. The transmatch gets rid of the reactance and converts the remaining resistance to 50 ohms for the radio, and ideally will introduce a minimum amount of loss. The characteristic impedance of this line no longer matters. Its length no longer matters. So it makes things a lot easier, but it's not truly a Zepp antenna in the purist's sense, or in the purist sense either. But radio hams have come to call this arrangement a Zepp antenna. If you operate it at precisely twice the fundamental frequency, so you get a full wavelength here, rather than a half a wavelength, 1 wavelength long, then again you're going to get a purely resistive impedance at the end. The same is also true if you multiply the fundamental or the original frequency by 3 and by 4 and by 5, etc., etc. But again, it has to be a frequency that's exactly such that this length is a perfect integral multiple of a half a wavelength, so there's no reactance right there. That's the only thing that really matters. But you might operate this thing on 7.040, and you might find that it optimizes again at 14.095. Or maybe, well, let's just say for argument's sake, yeah, right in the radio teletype portion of the band here on 20 meters, the CW portion here. Of course, you could cut this for some other frequency. And again, you'll find that it will work on the 15 meter band, say maybe 21.115 megahertz. That'd be in the CW band, but I don't think you'll hear a whole lot of people there. Is that still part of the novice or the... Well, I don't believe that their novice license doesn't even exist anymore. My mind's still way back in the 1960s when I was first licensed as WA0 OKV, Ocean Kilo Victor, in Rochester, Minnesota. And so, forgive an old man for living in the past. That's going to happen to you someday when you're an old man, unless you happen to be female. I don't know. I don't think females have quite so much of a problem with that past nostalgia business. I think, but I don't know. I'm starting to gender generalize, and that's certainly not my purpose on these videos. My purpose right now is merely to say 73, which means best regards in ham radio jargon, and so long, which in my native language translates as did-did-did-da-did-da.